Last week, we kicked off my series, 7 Mistakes High Achievers Make When Choosing Their Next Career Step. You can check out the intro to that series. I've linked it above. Today, we're going to dive into mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is thinking in terms of jobs and roles instead of thinking in terms of applications of their craft. Now, what do I mean when I say your craft? The distinction between your craft versus your job is like the distinction between clay versus a bowl. A bowl is just one shape that can be made out of clay. You can also make clay into a plate or a mug or a figurine. And you can also have bowls that are not made out of clay. Some bowls are made of wood or metal or plastic. In the exact same way, a job is just one shape that can be made out of your craft. A job is just one application of your craft. And the same job shape can be made out of different craft materials, aka the same job can be done successfully through the application of different crafts. So I'm going to tell you how to identify your craft in a second, but first, let me tell you why thinking in terms of jobs and roles instead of thinking in terms of applications of your craft is a mistake. Let's take 2 management consultants with the same level of experience. If you think of them in terms of jobs and roles, you might say they have the same type of experience in the same company. So they should probably be looking at the same kind of next career steps. And that next step should be something that logically follows from their consulting background. But if you think in terms of their craft, you might notice that the way that consultant A is successful as a consultant is that they deeply study the topic that they're working on and they strive to become an expert in it. Then they develop original perspectives based on what they've learned, and then they communicate their knowledge and their perspectives as effectively as possible through visuals and metaphors and good slide design and a thoughtful sequencing of meetings. In contrast, the way that consultant B is successful as a consultant is that they ruthlessly prioritize what matters and what doesn't matter, and they only do A+ work on the stuff that matters. They also know exactly who to contact within the firm's massive network of resources to find an answer or get an analysis done for them. And they're very savvy about knowing what the answer is that the partner or the client wants to see, and they get that answer on the page fast and they make sure that it's defensible. Consultant A and consultant B are actually practicing 2 very different crafts. Now, either craft can make somebody a successful consultant. Just like a bowl can be made out of clay or it can be made out of wood, but the base material that each of them is working with is actually quite different. And the most important thing about each of their next steps is not that it logically follows from having been in consulting. The most important thing is that each of their next steps should play to the strengths of the base material that they are working with. Their next steps should be highly value-creating applications of their respective crafts, and they shouldn't be a misapplication of their craft. Don't try to make a chair out of clay. It's going to fall down pretty fast. Consultant A should do something where deep expertise, original perspectives, and clear communication are key to solving high priority problems. And consultant B should do something where prioritization, delegation, and a savvy understanding of stakeholder needs are key to solving high priority problems. We're going to talk more about how to find high value applications of your craft in the next article. But for today, let's talk about putting your finger on what your craft is. When I say your craft, what I mean is your MO, your way of doing things, the habitual way that you approach problems, find solutions, and bring things from unsolved state to solved state. It's your way of moving through the world, which you couldn't stop doing even if you tried. Now, everybody has a craft. Everybody has a natural, habitual way of moving through the world, solving problems, and doing things. But you probably don't know what your craft is for the same reason that fish don't know what water is. When you're born in water, live in water, die in water, and know nothing but water, you have no idea what water is because you've never known anything but water. In the same way, consultant A and consultant B probably have no idea what their crafts are, because to each of them, it's just obvious that everybody would approach the consulting job in the way that they do. And if they ever talk to each other, they would probably be very surprised to hear that each of them approaches this job so differently. So here are 3 exercises that you can do to articulate your craft to yourself. Exercise number 1, List 5 to 7 times that you were in flow or in the zone, just loving what you were doing and producing great work. These could have happened at work, in school, or in your personal life. It could be a project you really crushed it on at work, a club you ran in college, or even that time you planned your friend's bachelorette party. It doesn't matter what realm of life it was in. In fact, looking across the different realms of your life might actually be pretty instructive. What matters is that you are locked in and in the zone. And once you've listed those 5 to 7 examples, I want you to step back. And I want you to see what are the common themes between those examples in terms of how you tend to operate. What is the common MO? Exercise number 2, contrast how you approached a problem versus how somebody else approached a problem. It's often easier to know yourself through contrast with others. Consultant A and consultant B might have trouble identifying their own crafts in a vacuum, but if they talk to each other and compared their approaches to the job, they'd probably get an idea of their own crafts pretty quickly. So go talk to your friends or to your colleagues. See how they approach different problems or challenges. And you might be surprised how your, obviously everybody does this, approach to things is actually quite specific to you. Exercise number 3, cross-check your insights from exercise 1 and exercise 2 with a career assessment test. I personally like Clifton Strengths. It takes $65. It costs $65 to take as an individual, but there's a ton of these different assessments out there. If you just do the assessment, the results are often too broad to be meaningful. You're like, okay, I'm a communicator, but what does that mean and what do I do with it? But when you pair the broad terminology of a strengths assessment with the specific examples from exercises 1 and 2, a clearer picture starts to emerge. You start to be able to name and articulate your craft with a little bit more precision. I want you to use these 3 exercises to get to a rough 50 to 60% understanding of what your craft is. You do not need 100% precision here. A rough pencil sketch is totally fine. Don't spin your wheels trying to create a photorealistic oil painting, because your understanding of what your craft is and what its highest value applications are is going to get further sharpened by hanging out in problem spaces. And we're going to talk more about that tomorrow when we cover mistake number 2. In the meantime, I want you to subscribe to my email newsletter to make sure you don't miss a single post. You can find my email newsletter at poojav.substack.com. And I want you to forward this along to anyone you think who could use this. And if you want to speed this whole process up and have me analyze your particular situation and just tell you what the heck you should do, come talk to me and I can give you my custom suggestions today. You can drop by anytime for a no strings attached coffee chat. It's not a sales pitch or a sales call. It's just an opportunity for us to talk about whatever's on your mind, and I'll give you some one-off coaching and brainstorming about your situation. The link to book a coffee chat is above. Or you can also book a consult call, and we can map out what a full coaching engagement might look like. So you can not only get clear on your next step, but also fully flesh out the roadmap for getting there and execute it step by step until you are where you want to be. The link to book a free consult call is also above. Or if you're listening on Instagram, both of those links are in my bio.